Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for everything Liverpool Football Club. Today's episode is packed with breaking drama and big headlines. From a $130 million move to replace Mo Salah, to Virgil van Dijk's powerful message and Trent's fiery denial. We'll also dive into Gary Neville's brutal criticism, Isak's blunt reaction after the Chelsea defeat, and Wayne Rooney's surprising new take in the better player debate. Stay tuned. Reds, this one's going to be massive. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window. Liverpool planning a $130 million move for Salah replacement Liverpool. Target Michael Owen's in record-breaking move to replace. Salah. Liverpool are preparing to make a historic move in the transfer market as they line up a $150 million bid for Bayern Munich winger Michael Owen. According to Fichajes.net, the Reds have placed the Frenchman at the top of their list as they prepare for life without Mohamed Salah, whose Anfield future remains in question beyond the summer of 2026. Owen's development in Germany has been extraordinary. Since joining Bayern in 2024, the 23-year-old has produced a staggering return of 43 direct goal contributions, with 20 goals and 23 assists in 55 appearances. His performances earned him the title of the club's Player of the Year and have sparked comparisons with Arjen Robben and Frank Ribéry. His versatility and capacity to influence matches has made him one of the most coveted players in Europe, noted one report. This ability to play across the front line is particularly appealing to Liverpool, who view Owen as an ideal successor to Salah. Liverpool's strategic intent. The Reds are expected to spend heavily to ensure their attacking line retains its potency after Salah's eventual departure. The Egyptian forward, now 33, remains under contract until 2026, but his long-term future at Anfield is far from certain. Reports have suggested that he could seek new challenges next summer after a glittering spell with the club. Liverpool's willingness to spend in excess of $100 million demonstrates how determined they are to stay competitive at the top level. The club has been clear about aligning recruitment with Arne Slot's vision for a dynamic, fluid attack that continues to excite supporters and worry defenses. Liverpool see him as the perfect successor to lead their attack in the coming years, said sources close to the negotiations. A signing of this scale would underline their ambition in a period where rivals like Manchester City and Chelsea are also prepared to invest heavily. Competition. For Owen's interest in Owen is not limited to Liverpool. Chelsea and Manchester City are also monitoring the winger closely, while Bayern Munich are determined to keep hold of him. Talks are ongoing between the German champions and Owen's representatives over an extension until 2031, which would include a significant salary increase. Despite these efforts, Liverpool's proposed offer would test Bayern's resolve. A figure of $150 million would represent one of the largest fees in football history and put immense pressure on Bayern to make a decision on whether to cash in or resist. As one report put it, Liverpool are ready to test Bayern's determination to retain their star with an offer that could surpass the $100 million mark. The Premier League side are expected to move quickly to avoid a prolonged battle with other suitors. Potential end of an era for Salah. The prospect of Salah leaving Liverpool is edging closer. He renewed his contract in 2024, but the sense is growing that his time at Anfield may be approaching its conclusion. His departure would create a huge void, both in terms of quality and leadership. If Owen does arrive, it would represent more than just a replacement. It would be a statement about Liverpool's future, about investing in one of the brightest young stars in Europe to carry them forward. If Liverpool succeed in signing Michael Owen for the reported figure, they would be securing not only one of the best young talents in Europe, but also a key figure for their long-term project, explained. Fichajes.net. Liverpool's hierarchy are aware that signing Owen would define their next era. It would also demonstrate a clear willingness to back Slot as he reshapes the squad for the challenges ahead. Virgil van Dijk sends strong Liverpool message and makes Trent Alexander-Arnold denial. Virgil van Dijk says Liverpool shouldn't lose sight of their status as Premier League champions after a chastening week of 3 straight defeats away from Home Virgil van Dijk says Liverpool should not lose sight of their status as Premier League champions, as the captain called for perspective after a damaging week. The Reds slipped to their third successive defeat on Saturday as Chelsea won 2-1 at Stamford Bridge, courtesy of Esteval Williams' stoppage time winner. That result came after the 1-0 loss at Galatasaray in the Champions League on Tuesday night, and last weekend's 2-1 reverse to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Van Dijk admits the level of turnover in the playing staff this season means a tough adaptation period was always anticipated inside a new-look camp, as he urged everyone at Anfield to remember how they romped to the title by 10 points last term. "It was always going to be a difficult season," Van Dijk said. "I mentioned it from the very start already. We have to go through this as one, not only us as players, but also the staff and our fans who celebrated being champions, which is something we shouldn't forget." It was a quite open game, of course, in the second half especially. Both teams trying to go for the win, and to concede like that is obviously not a great feeling, especially going into the international break. We got results, definitely. We found a way. It is a bit ironic that we concede in two different games in the last minute. There is still plenty of work to do. We know in football every 3 or 4 days things can change and momentum can change. But we have to work to get there first. The 7-8 days have been tough for all of us, but we are the ones, together with the staff and the fans, who can turn this around. I'm confident of that. It is about us seeing that perspective as players and staff. I want the fans to also see that perspective as well. But we live in a world where there is so much noise going on, and you have to deal with that as well. It is down to us to keep working, find results, stick together, and find confidence. We need to do what we were doing last year, when everyone was so happy. Now we have a little bit of a tough moment, which can change pretty quickly, but we have to work for it. That is something we realize, and we need to do it all together, as we always have been doing over these years, especially when I've been here at the club, because there have been some ups and downs. That is the only way out of it. It sounds a bit simple, but that is the only way to do it. Let's go for it. No fan of us wants to come here and lose and go home and feel disappointed. So we have to keep going and stick together. Maybe something much bigger. National media ask major Liverpool questions after Chelsea loss. Look at how the national media assessed Liverpool's 2-1 defeat to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge as a bad week for the defending champions gets worse. Third successive defeat means Liverpool will enter the international break at a low ebb. The Premier League champions were beaten 2-1 by Chelsea on Saturday to condemn the Reds to a third loss in a row across the course of a nightmare week for Arne Slot. The Echo, of course, was in attendance at Stamford Bridge on Saturday, and you can view the best of our matchday content here. Big match verdict, player ratings, analysis, Slot reaction, live blog. Our esteemed colleagues from the national media were also on hand to give their considered takes. Here's what they made of it. Lewis Steele of the Daily Mail writes, 57 goals or assists in 52 games last year for Mohamed Salah was never going to be topped this time, especially with the Egyptians set to fly away to the Africa Cup of Nations in mid-December, a worry in itself for Liverpool. 3 goals and 3 assists in 9 games this year are hardly catastrophic numbers either, but for his sky-high standards, Salah is not leading this team to wins in the same way he was last year. That is a major concern, especially when fellow attackers are not as consistent. Cody Gakpo scored Liverpool's goal here to equalize on 65 minutes, but other than that, most of their chances ended up with Robert Sanchez, the Chelsea goalkeeper, puffing out his cheeks in relief as the Reds failed to hit the target. They created more opportunities than in Istanbul on Tuesday, to be fair, and Salah was more involved. But it was the lack of clinicality in the final third that cost Liverpool this match. At 1-1, there were plenty of chances to win. Slot's men did not take theirs, Chelsea did. Jacob Steinberg of The Guardian writes, "There has been so much discussion about Chelsea's youthful indiscipline, but in the end it was one of the kids who made a 45-year-old man lose control. It was a wild finale, Liverpool run ragged, and when Estevão Willian delivered the decisive blow deep into stoppage time, it was the cue for Enzo Maresca to leave his technical area, charge down the touchline, and join the mass of blue shirts, as they celebrated in front of the disbelieving supporters in the Matthew Harding stand. Liverpool were beaten. Their knack for late shows turned against them for the second successive weekend, and it is unlikely that Maresca cared when Anthony Taylor showed him a second yellow card. Call it the sweetest sending off of the Italian's managerial career. Nobody will be casting doubt over his job security now. Not after witnessing the world champions make light of a recent stumble and an extensive injury list by producing a performance of grit and style to ensure that Liverpool ended a dreadful week with their third consecutive defeat in all competitions. If it feels premature to call it a crisis, it is certainly true that Liverpool must act quickly to reverse their slump. The response to looking up rather than down for the first time under Arne Slot will be fascinating. Do the champions rally after losing top spot to Arsenal, or do they fall into a decline reminiscent of Manchester City's struggles last season? Gary Neville slams 4 absolutely useless Liverpool players in scathing put-down Gary. Neville slammed Milos Kerkez and a number of his Liverpool teammates following. The Reds' defeat to Chelsea. Gary Neville has slammed Milos Kerkez in a scathing critique of the defender following a below-par start to his Liverpool career. The Hungarian shone for AFC Bournemouth last season, with his form earning him both a 40-meter move to Anfield and a place in the PFA Team of the Year, but he has ultimately struggled to recapture such form for the Reds to date, with the 21-year-old one of a number of players who have not been at their best as the reigning Premier League champions struggle for form. Liverpool fell to a third successive defeat away at Chelsea on Saturday evening, following on from losses to Crystal Palace and Galatasaray, as they surrendered top spot in the Premier League table in the process. Kerkez, who has made the most appearances for Arne Slot's side so far this season, having featured in all 11 of their matches, started the game but was withdrawn after 55 minutes during another difficult showing. And Neville, who was on co-commentary duties for Sky Sports at Stamford Bridge, and is regarded as one of the best fullbacks in Premier League history, was not impressed with the 21-year-old's performance. The Manchester United legend pulled no punches as he claimed that Kerkez looked like a baby and a youth team player when taking issue with his latest performance. The boy Kerkez, to be honest with you, at this point in time, he looks like a youth team player, he said on the Gary Neville podcast. I know he's a good player, but he looks like he's playing for the youth team or the under-21s. He looks so naive. He looks like a baby out there. He's losing 50-50s with NATO. He's had Premier League experience. It's not like he's come in from another country. He's got a lot of games under his belt. He's played at these grounds before, so I expected him to slot in. 1, he's playing alongside Virgil van Dijk, the best center half in the world. So if you want to play in a back 4, you want to play with great defenders, and he is doing. And he's got players who work hard on that side. It's not like he's playing on the right with Salah in front of him, which is always a bit more difficult because you always get a little bit more exposed. But I have to say, from the first 10 minutes of that game against Bournemouth on the first game of the season, he struggled. Slot would concede that. Kerkez is still adjusting to the increased demands at Liverpool when explaining his decision to withdraw the defender against Chelsea. Milos was more and more tired, he told Sky Sports. He played 90 minutes in 2 games, and now for the 3rd game in a week, which he's not used to when he played at Bournemouth. You could feel and see it got more and more difficult to keep going, and their wingers are a threat, so we decided to make a change over there. Alexander Isak gives blunt verdict after Liverpool defeat to Chelsea. It's the worst. Liverpool suffered a 3rd successive defeat in all competitions as it was beaten 2-1 by Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, with Alexander Isak offering his thoughts on the loss. Alexander Isak has delivered a frank verdict on Liverpool's heartbreaking last-gasp defeat to Chelsea as the Reds endured their 3rd consecutive loss. Arne Slot's side relinquished their position at the Premier League summit to Arsenal following Estevão's 95th minute strike at Stamford Bridge. The 2-1 reverse came on the back of consecutive defeats against Crystal Palace and Galatasaray. with Liverpool also shipping a stoppage-time winner during last weekend's visit to Selhurst Park. Isak acknowledged that losing a match in such circumstances represents the most painful experience imaginable, and whilst he remains optimistic that the Reds can recover strongly following the international break, he accepted their performance against Chelsea fell short of expectations. "I think we started off pretty bad," he said. "We worked our way into the game pretty well. I think we came out for the second half and really gave everything to get the result. In the end, it's obviously tough conceding in the last minute like that. In the same way that winning like this is the best feeling, I think it's the worst to lose in this type of way. We created chances, enough to score, but it just wasn't enough today. We just have to keep working hard, bounce back, and get back to winning ways. I think the belief is there that we can bounce back. This team has shown many times. It's never easy, of course, but hard work and working on details and getting back to our best. We have that belief." Isak was given his second Premier League start for Liverpool in the game against Chelsea, where he assisted Cody Gakpo's equalizer. This comes as he continues to regain his fitness after a disrupted pre-season with his former club Newcastle United. The Swedish player acknowledges that he is not yet at peak performance, but is optimistic about the rest of the season. He provided an update on his progress post-match. "I feel good. I've been working hard to get back to my best," he shared with LFC TV after the game. "Still working to get back to my best form, but it was good to play out there again today. I was hoping for a different result, but we keep working. I'm very excited for the whole season ahead. Game by game, we have to improve if we want to achieve the things we want to, but I'm really excited." Wayne Rooney makes new Michael Owen comment as better player debate rages. Wayne Rooney has finally ended his debate with Michael Owen over who was the better footballer at the age of 17. Making a comment on the latest installment of Match of the Day, Wayne Rooney joked that Michael Owen was clearly a better footballer than he was at 17 in the most recent edition of Match of the Day. The Manchester United legend has been embroiled in a debate with the Liverpool icon as of late over who held more talent in their breakthrough year. The debate initially kicked off when Owen told the Rio Ferdinand podcast, "I saw Waza got asked who was the best out of us at the age of 17 or 18, and I did smile," before adding, "The only person you could possibly compare me to in our country is Wayne Rooney." Rooney, meanwhile, responded to the striker's take by explaining, "I think his comments are fair. Of course he's going to back himself. I'd back myself, but I'd never judge myself against Michael Owen because he's someone I actually looked up to and had the pleasure of playing alongside." After the nation fiercely debated who was the better player, it appears as though Rooney has now settled the argument once and for all. Speaking on Match of the Day on Saturday evening alongside Rooney and Alan Shearer, in the wake of Bukayo Saka achieving his 100th goal involvement during Arsenal's 2-0 win over West Ham, Gabby Logan pulled up a chart of the players who have achieved the same feat, as well as how many games it took them to do so. The presenter added, "You're just behind Michael Owen. He's top of the pops there for players with 100 Premier League goal involvements and how few games they've got there. 153 for Michael, 187 for you, 212 for Bukayo." To which Rooney replied, "Yeah, I think that clearly shows that Michael was a better player than I was at that age," before erupting with laughter. He then added, "But no, I think for Saka, he's such an important player for Arsenal and for England. I think over the last 3 or 4 years, he's probably been Arsenal's most important player. He's had a few injuries which have affected. Them numbers would even better if that weren't the case, I believe. But yeah, he's such an incredible player.